series of lectures that we are organizing. I'm not calling this as a webinar for obvious reason, because it is split over, the whole program is split over 6 days, and this is being done to commemorate the National Wildlife Week celebration that usually is done in the first week of October, between 2nd to 8th. So we have lined up 6 lectures, and participants have been already given the details of that. The lectures begin today with Avinash Viswanathan. He is the General Secretary of Friends of Snake Society. Today he would be talking about snake conservation efforts in Telangana. And tomorrow, Ms. Farida Tampal, she is the State Director for the WWF India Hyderabad office. And she would be talking tomorrow on, our topic is biodiversity at the tipping point. And Sunday we would not be having any lecture as such. And Monday we would be having Mr. Sriram Reddy, who is the kind of core member of Hyderabad Birding Pals. He would be talking about owls of Telangana, and one of the important aspects of Sriram is that he is a very passionate bird photographer, and a photographer who has a kind of some kind of what do you say target that he's planning to achieve. And when we introduce him on Monday, we'll talk to you about him on that day. Then on Tuesday we would be having Mr. Ravikant Mancheriala. He's the wildlife biologist from the Telangana State Forest Department, who was working with the vulture conservation in Bejur region, and he would be talking about conservation of vultures at Palarapu Cliff. And it would be followed by Wednesday talk by Mr. Imran Siddiqui of ITCOS, Hyderabad Tiger Conservation Society, and he would be talking about why conservation matters from bees to tigers. And finally, the program would end with a talk by Ms. VVL Subhadra Devi, and Madam is the DCF for Wildlife of Telangana State Forest Department, and she would be talking about conservation in protected areas of Telangana. So that's the whole set of talks that we would be having under this program, and every day excepting Sunday, as I've told you, we would be starting the program at 2 o'clock, 2:30, and we'll be listening to our experts. These are the people who had spent decades in being in the field, and having understood the nitty-gritties of wildlife and wildlife conservation and issues that the wildlife in this region and wildlife in general faces. Yeah, well, now I would request. Now I would request. Just give me a moment. Yeah, I just got a feedback from some of you that you are not able to listen to me. I just wanted in the chat box, can you just type in yes or no, so that I will come to know that some of the participants are not able to listen to me. I spoke for almost about last 5 to 7 minutes. Were you able to listen to that background information? Yes, most of you are typing in yes. So I would like to know from our participants who said that they were not able to listen. Are you able to listen, Mr. Chetan Kumar, Dr. Chetan? No, you are not able to listen. And how about our presenter today, Mr.
Yes, I'm
Avinash?
able to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are able to listen. Okay, here.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. So I will start the program today. I request Mr. Chetan to Dr. Chetan Kumar to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Avinash Viswanathan, and is ready to present. And I invite Dr. Chetan to introduce our today's speaker. Dr. Chetan, please.
He just left.
Yes, I'll call him here. Yeah, Chetan, come and present from you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the celebrations of the National Wildlife Week 2020. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to introduce our first spokesperson. As you all know, we are talking about Mr. Avinash Viswanathan here. It gives me immense pleasure. I'm really happy to introduce him. He's a fellow herpetologist and a good friend. Talking about him is he's a passionate herpetologist, uh, herpetologist who has been working with conservation of snakes for the past 15 years in Telangana and other parts of the state too. He's also a general secretary of Friends of Snake Society Telangana. He has authored several articles and short notes on range extensions, natural history of snakes, their phylogeny in various national and international journals. His area of interest includes taxonomy, spatial distribution, captive management of snakes, snake bite mitigation, and man-wildlife conflict mitigation. Thank you for being here, Avinash. Hope it would be a great talk, and we'll begin with over to Mr. Avinash Viswanathan.
Thank you, Chetan.
Thank you, Avinash.
Okay, guys, are you all able to see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to have you all.
witness this presentation that I'll be talking about. It would be about snakes and specifically snakes of our region. I will be talking about all the species that we would be finding in our region, right, and then their importance towards towards wildlife preservation and how crucial they are in maintaining
Ecological balance.
what threats do they face. And we'll also be talking about snake bites and snake bite mitigation towards the end of our presentation.
So I'll just give you all a
Brief introduction about my organization. I work with this organization called the Friends of Snake Society. And most of you are aware this was started way back in 1995 by late Raj Kumar Kanuri Garu. Friends of Snake Society deals with rescue, relocation, translocation of snakes and wildlife. And we also conduct various other
activities like snake aware
programs. And we help the forest department in anti-poaching activities. We also document whatever data that we are able to gather during this entire process.
I'm pretty positive
snakes, or rather,
people that
are afraid of snakes, and invariably they are afraid of snakes because they bite, and few of them
are afraid of snakes because of the way.
look, and all of that aspects we'll talk about in some time. Here's a video of one of our volunteer rescuing a snake.
Watch this and then I'll resume
My presentation. This is a rescue.
locals.
Happened to spot a cobra. Just check this out, please.
Observe this.
Brave locals are
To capture this safely inside the bag. But then there is so much of chaos
and the animal is
being tossed around.
And here's our volunteer, Sai Lakshmi, who comes down to rescue the snake.
Okay, so that was a chaotic video. The reason why
To show you this particular video today is to point out that people are invariably scared of snakes, and this
wildlife conflict and
when it comes to snakes, it is invariably harmful for the animal. We'll talk about the conflict aspects of it in some time, but we'll also look at what we do. So as I was talking about, Friends of Snake Society rescues snakes that enter houses, colleges, offices,
relocates them away from.
beings. On a daily basis, we receive close to 100 calls, and of which on a yearly basis, we end up rescuing some 6,000 snakes. Now, wherever
Now our job,
not to remove snakes from an area, our job is to ensure that there is no.
human or life loss.
So wherever possible, if
We are ending up rescuing an animal to a forest fringe, we end up relocating the animal within its home range.
certain situations, especially when it
To city like Hyderabad,
are hardly any viable areas where you can reach
such animals.
such situations, we partner with the forest department. We relocate them in areas which are
For the species that we rescue,
and we do close to 6,000 rescue and relocation activities each year. When we are relocating, we are also considerate of this fact that we don't want to overpopulate a certain forest area. At the same time, we don't want to introduce new species
in areas where that particular species does not.
exist. We don't want to create a conflict there. At the same time, these are images of our volunteers carrying out various rescue activities and
Programs.
is public. Whenever it's a venomous snake, you must observe that our guys would be having this snake.
With which they catch hold of the snake. Non-venomous snakes you really don't need any equipment. You'll have to support the animal's body and try to bag them or put them in a container as quick as possible. Remember this, these animals are stressed out, and the longer you keep them outside for public viewing, it will kind of
The animal, and sometimes it can also be lethal. I just wanted to share this data with you of snake rescue that we do. Here are the numbers of snake
rescues that we've been doing in Telangana
for the last 5 years. In the year 2015, we ended up rescuing close to 3,300 snakes. It was very similar in the year 2016, but you probably would notice this upward trend here from 2017 onwards. Remember this, these are snakes that are rescued. And when I say rescue, I also mean that these are the snakes that were encountered by human beings. These numbers do not talk about the population that is present in a certain area. These are just snake
encounters, right? 2017, we ended up rescuing close to 4,500 snakes, and then that was increase. I mean, there was an increase in
2018 and 2019. Last year, we ended up rescuing close to 6,700 snakes from them. That's a lot of conflict scenario. That's a crazy conflict situation, because remember this, that when I talk about 6,600 snakes, majority of them, or at least 50% of them, are venomous species. I'll talk about the venomous species and its breakdown in a bit, but let's
see if there are any other trends that are there when it comes to snake rescues.
The same data from 2015 to 2019, observe this, that venomous snakes that are found in our region are pretty high. All right. Throughout
from 2015 until 19.
See, I mean, the red blocks are venomous snakes and the greenish blocks are non-venomous species. The venomous snakes are higher in number when it comes to urban scenario.
Let us look at
this particular block here. In 2019, we ended up rescuing
56%
of venomous snakes. Of these 56, remember this, that spectacled cobras are the largest chunk. Close to 46 or 48% of our rescues
spectacled cobras, because
animals are well suited or well adapted in surviving in urban environments. And most of you are aware, spectacled cobras are venomous snakes. So that kind of leads to a
situation which can be deadly
in case of
bites. Okay.
Let's look at a few other stats. Yeah, I was talking about the stats. This is
stat, 50% of the rescue,
where spectacled cobras, close to 3,400
cobras that were rescued last year.
And then few other snakes species that are commonly found
in the region. Russell's
5%. Rat snakes are non-venomous snakes, which grow up to 6 to 8 feet in length.
That's like 25% of the rescue.
25% of our rescues are rat snakes. And then there are few other species like the banded racer, the bronzeback tree snake, and checkerback
that we
in our area. This other chunk that you see, 8% of the other species that we rescue, are close to 20 different species that we find in our region. I'll show you certain images of snakes that we find here. And just before that, in India, we've got close to 300 snake species that are found, of which 66 of them are venomous. 66 or 67 with the latest pit viper discovery. 67 of them are venomous. Majority of this of the chunk that we get are totally harmless, and they can bite, but then they don't have any venom. Of the 67 species, there are 4 species which we should be careful of, because these animals are close to human beings. They dwell close to human beings, and then they have sufficient venom to kill a human being. Those 4 species are spectacled cobras, Russell's vipers, saw-scale vipers, and common kraits. We will. I'll show you images of these snakes later. Here in Telangana, we have 37 species of snakes that are found. Of these 37, 7 of them are venomous. Right, the first snake that you're looking at right now is a harmless snake called the Brahmani worm snake. These
They're also called the flower pot snake.
now this particular species grows up.
6 inches in length.
Ideally, when you come across a
The worm snake might kind of
worm that it's a worm, it's an earthworm, and you might not associate it to be a snake because
looks more like a worm, but then
the animal's movement
the serpentine motion.
Snakes have, that particular motion will give you a hint that this is a snake. All right, these vertebrates also have small eye pockets here, small cells which can detect presence and absence of light. They are also called the blind snakes because they don't have great vision. They can only observe presence or absence of light. And this is a very common species that is found across India. It's just that people might not come across these because they stay underneath the ground.
And whenever you kind of dig soil,
Garden, you might end up spotting this Brahmani worm snake, which is a harmless species. There's another worm snake that is commonly found in our region. It's called the beaked worm snake. The beaked worm snake, as the name suggests, it's got a head or nasal projection here, the rostral scale, which is pointed just like a bird's beak.
all right. And these animals,
Big worm snake grow slightly longer than the Brahmani worm snake. They reach lengths up to 1 feet without any difficulty. These big worm snakes also have very degenerated vision. They live underneath the soil, and in Telangana, we do have
commonly spotted
certain pockets. Right, both the Brahmani worm snake and the beak worm snake are fossorial dwellers.
they end up eating termites and their eggs.
Just a check, guys. Can you hear me? Can anyone just confirm?
Yes, Avinash. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Quite silent there, so I was not sure.
I know sometimes it happens, right?
Yeah. All right. So that's the beak
Snake that we find
commonly in our region. Right. Another species that is found. It's a rare species, but yeah, it is found here. It's called the Dummerell's black
snake, right? This particular, this blackish head, very easy to identify this animal. It's got a black head and a brown body, and right on the vertebral scale, right, you have these black spots. It's clear in this region. These black spots kind of tell you that you're looking at a Dummerell snake. There's another species,
venomous snake called the Slender coral snake, which also looks very similar. It's got a black head there, but then
bands, or rather these spots
on the vertebral scale will be missing. You would not find that spot. There are other differences also. I'll talk about that when we talk about this
coral snake. But yeah, this is Dummerell's black-headed.
Now, this is a very rare species, and we really don't know, a lot about this animal. Certainly feeds on lizards, and then they are usually encountered in Telangana around June, July. So we are assuming that is the mating season of these animals. But other than that,
really don't have much information.
The literature on this one is also very bleak.
Right. I can also tell species as an oviparous species, as in like they lay eggs, active during the day.
I've come across these individuals during the night as well, and
we also
rescue these animals during the daytime. Not a long snake, grows up to 1 feet in length. Other species, interesting species that we find here is the banded.
The name
kukri is actually a weapon. It's actually a knife used by Gurkhas. They have these sickle-shaped knives, all right? That's called a kukri. And this particular species, they have teeth which are razor sharp and can cut as bad as a kukri, and that's why they call it the banded kukri, Oligodon arnensis. It's a common species in our region, You find them during the night time. They are strictly nocturnal
Animals, very easy to identify.
species. First and foremost, they are small snakes. They grow up to 1 feet in length, and then they've got this olivaceous green body. Sometimes
Yellowish also in color.
and you've got these bands
Thick black bands across the head till the tail. Okay. Another thing that you look for is this
inverted V right near the nuchal area, right near the neck region, right? Inverted V shape on the head and inverted V shape on the neck region. Another thing about kukris that we find here in our region, you've got these black band which connect
the eye. Right. So
the eyes, right? You have this black band which you'd find on
these of our region.
banded kukris.
They feed on lizards,
Also
eat eggs,
reptilian
and they are harmless. They don't have any venom whatsoever. Now the
snake, which is slightly rare in our region, is the streak.
kukri. Now these animals are not.
Just like your banded kukri,
They have streaks. They have
continuous streaks on the body. They come, they have 2 or 3 variations, 2 or 3 morphs, but look for this band between the eye. You will have that connection there, right? This coloration. And then you've got irregular streaks, which is very prominent in the anterior region. All right, this is one particular streak morph that we get. Another streak morph that we get are big blotches on the body. That's another variation that we have when it comes to these snakes. Right, Oligodon tenuolatus. This is also a harmless snake. They feed on lizards and reptilian eggs, to be specific. Right. Another. Okay. Now,
these are wolf snakes. We have
wolf snakes here in this region, and people
confused between wolf snakes and crane.
wolf snakes in the vernacular language are called nune katlepamu. These snakes have
Bands on the body, and
people
assume that these are venomous snakes, and then
killing them, but these snakes are totally harmless.
we've got some
4 species of wolf snakes in our region. This particular animal that you're looking at is called a barred wolf snake.
because of the barred pattern on the body.
Observe this, that these pattern
Lines that you find on the body are in the anterior region, and towards the tail they kind of disintegrate. Rather, they become less prominent in nature. Now, certain animals, certain barred wolf snakes have these yellow spots right near the vertebral region, and then sometimes you might not have any spots as well in certain individuals. They are black snake with white bands on the body. They grow up to 1 feet in length, and they are nocturnal.
they are active during the night time. Lycodon stratus.
Barred wolf snake. This is kind of a rare species here.
But yeah, a harmless one at that. Another species that we find is the Commonwool snake, which is not that common. It's a rare occurrence here. These animals are dark brown animals with dark brown dorsum with pale yellowish or whitish bands on the body. All right. Wolves,
They're called wolf snake because
their dentition, they have canine-like dentition. Look at this genus name here, Lycodon.
refers to dog.
Lycodon refers to dentition or teeth. So these animals have dog-like teeth, as in like the
Dentition
on these animals, especially near the anterior portion of their mouth, they are pronounced. They give a bad bite. They are harmless, but they can be quite snappy. Wolf snakes, again, as I said, Nune Katlapamu, people end up killing them, thinking that they are venomous, but they are so. Another species of
that we commonly find here.
our region is slender wolf snake, Lycodon anamelensis. All right, this species is a common occurrence in our region. It's very similar to the Commonwool snake, brownish colored dorsum with slightly thinner yellowish bands, right? And also on the labial scales, you will have the
yellowish marking.
this is also a harmless
Species that is commonly
in Telangana. And another species that we find here is the bridal snake. Now, this is a very rare snake. We probably rescue one or two every year.
about it, and on
In instances, we might kind of have no occurrence or no sighting of this species. It's a rare occurrence. Dryocalamus nympha. These animals are very beautiful.
they call it the bridal snake because of
Bridal wheel-like pattern on the head. They have thicker bands, and between the bands, you have these dark spots, right? Grows up to 1 feet in length. They are dark brown or blackish
color with white.
bands on the body. All right. Bridal snake. Now, these animals also feed on lizards. They are nocturnal in nature, and that's why they are elusive. Another species that was more of a recent discovery in 2007, to be specific, is yellow-collared wolf snake. These animals have a yellow collar right near the neck region. Right, bands usually are absent on yellow-collared wolf snakes, Lycodon flavicollis. Just like the common wolf snake, these animals are strictly nocturnal in nature. They
Very good climbers.
sometimes we end up rescuing these animals on the first floor, second floor, because these animals, in search of lizards, can climb walls which are vertical.
Rough walls again.
Vertical walls,
These animals are able to climb because of
scales, ventral scales. These are very good climbers, wolf snakes. Okay. Easy to identify wolf snake. They grow
1 feet in length, less than a feet.
all right. They don't have any pattern on the body, but right near the neck region, you've got a yellow collar. Again, it's very easy to identify wolf snakes. Almost all of these animals have their heads which are flat. Right? It appears as if their heads are flattened. Right?
That's one
Feature of Lycodon genus.
right dorsoventral.
Flattening of their head. And yeah, another species that was described from Telangana recently in 2018 is yellow spotted wolf snake. We came across a dead specimen from Adilabad. These animals are beautiful. They've got these spots,
Their back.
projections on their back, and these spots are found again on the vertebral scale.
And they are very clear.
The neck region, and as we go down the body, the prominence of these spots decreases. Yellow spotted wolf snake.
Flavomaculatus.
Until 2018, we never knew that this species exists in Telangana. And one of my members came across a road-killed specimen, if I remember right. And yeah, that was the first record for the state of Telangana. Okay, now this
Banded razor.
animals are very elusive. They are active during the daytime.
And they're fast-moving snake, and
They call it the razor. They have these bands, thin bands, which are very prominent from the head till the mid-body region. Okay, they're active.
exclusively during the day.
They feed on lizards. Sometimes they also take on smaller rodents. Here in our region, they call it the Kode
As in, this,
snake. Resembles a cobra.
but it is not a cobra.
Cobra would have much
Broader head, and it will also.
hood, and these anterior bands would be absent in a cobra.
But people call that
Tell that this is a dangerous snake, and there are lots of myths associated with this species. Right, banded razor grows up to 2-3 feet in length on an average, but they have been recorded to grow up to 5 feet in length. Another species, the Nagarjun Sagar razor. This is a common species in certain pockets. Now, in Hyderabad, in certain areas, certain regions, we find them. Nagarjun Sagar looks very similar to another species.
the slender razor,
got these regular round pattern or patches on the body, which decreases in prominence
once you move towards the tail.
right?
Very beautiful snakes. They are
Active during the daytime. Platyceps bolenadi. It was actually
described from Naga. The type locality of this particular species is Nagarjun Sagar, and that's why they name it. That's why the common name is Nagarjun Sagar razor. Another species
was I mean we didn't know that the species existed until 2016, where we came across
this species very close.
Hyderabad near Boduppal, near Nagol, where we accidentally rescued two beautiful looking snakes, which we were not sure about the identity initially. And then based on the scale count and the review of existing literature, we were able to identify this individual as a first-time record for the state of Telangana, Samophis longifrons, stout sand snake. Now, this is a very mysterious snake. Not much has been documented about the animal's natural
History.
we were not able
To study sufficiently. It kind
to is a very interesting species. Stout sand snake,
of has got beautiful pattern on it.
dorsal scales. All right, on the head, you observe this, that every single scale on the head.
Head scales are beautifully marked.
Now, this coloration, this bright coloration,
Fades as they grow.
older. That is called ontogenic variation. You would find them in Samophis.
Stout sand snake.
This is a very rare occurrence. We were able to
Couple of them in the year
15-16, and then one more specimen was spotted
in Amravati Tiger Reserve.
in 2018. Right, it's a very rare species. They feed on lizards, by the way. Common trinkets.
This is a common occurrence in this area. These animals are very beautiful when it comes to their coloration and skin texture, and people have used this particular snake in poaching, and leather of various kinds were made from trinket snake
Skin. Observe this whenever these animals are agitated, or if you kind of come across this animal initially, these
will try to defend themselves by
getting their heads high, creating this S-shaped pattern, and sometimes on certain occasions they also open their mouth, trying to tell that I'm a dangerous animal, and it's like a warning mechanism. All right, they are beautiful animals. They don't have any venom. These animals, or these pictures that I've shown of snake species till now,
all of them are harmless snakes.
do not have any venom whatsoever. So Coelognathus helena, this is one species that is commonly found in.
There's another
Species, Coelognathus helena monticularis, montane trinket, that is also found in Telangana. You find them in Bhupalapalli district, and you also come across montane trinket in Amravati Tiger Reserve. All right. Common cat snake.
not a common occurrence in
But yeah, they are beautiful animals. They are called the cat snake because of their vertical pupil.
observe this. The animal
Got vertical
slit like pupil, similar to cats. Whenever these
are brought out during the day, or whenever
these animals come out during that day,
the pupil decreases in the gut,
making it slit.
like during the night time when there is low light, these slits open up wide and they are more or less elliptical in nature, right?
Trigonata. These
Cells are
they have these serrated
bands on the body, and right on top of the head you would find a Gama shape, or a inverted Y shape on the head. Right? They are also called the Indian Gama snake because of this very reason. Common cat snakes are harmless, mildly venomous, but harmless. Bites to human beings do not cause any complication whatsoever. These are strictly nocturnal.
and Yeah, they feed on lizards predominantly.
Species of cat snake that we find here in Telangana, near Bhupalapalli, Amrabad,
That belt.
is the Fostern's cat snake. You don't find them here in Hyderabad and other districts of our state.
But yeah, this is a longer.
Cat snake. Fostern cat snakes grow up to 5-6 feet in length without any difficulties. Usually they come in two color morphs. This particular pattern that
It's got blotches on the body.
and it's got a orangish tinge, and in certain other situations they have this grayish tinge. So two different color morphs are observed in Fostern's cat snake. These are beautiful animals, again cat snakes, because of the vertical pupil, right?
Another animal that we find
In our region, yellow green cat snake
Boiga flavi.
recently discovered in 2013.
We find them near
The tiger reserve, right? These are again animals which have long triangular head. Cat snakes can sometimes be,
to pit vipers.
right, because of their triangular heads and the body shape. But remember this, pit vipers will have small scales on the head,
Whereas these animals are colubs and they have large.
shields. They have large scales on their head. Right, yellow green cat snake, mildly venomous in nature, and then again not
Danger, not a threat to human beings.
Indian neck-eater. This was first described from Telangana in the year 2015. These are beautiful animals. They are very specialized when it comes to their dietary choice. The name probably would tell you that this particular species feeds on eggs, and
We were able to kind of
find out when we ended up rescuing an animal, we were able to find out that these animals are obligatory egg eaters, right? They feed exclusively
bird eggs and nothing else. Right? These animals
kind of sniff,
eggs that they kind of come across.
and if there is any embryonic growth within the egg,
The animal rejects it.
all right, it is a specialized snake which has these vertebral projections that kind of are present near the neck region, vertebral hypophysis, which help the animal break the eggs. Once the contents of the eggs are consumed, the egg shells are removed from the body. All right, they regurgitate the egg shells. Now, this is one snake, and then in
You also have another species.
egg-eating snakes, the dasypus,
Now, those animals
exclusive egg eaters. This particular snake is
protected under Schedule 1.
of its rarity. But yeah, in the recent times, we've kind of come across a lot of these individuals across central and western India. Okay, very beautiful animal, Indian egg eater. This is active
Night time. Very
to identify this species also. The animal has got this bright yellow vertebral stripe from the head till the tail region. Near the neck region, the vertebral stripe is
continuous. Observe this. Otherwise, it's a dark black snake.
brown snake, growing up to 1 feet in length. Right. Another species of tree-dwelling as an arboreal
Species that we find here. It's the brown
black tree snake.
Dendrolathus tristis.
A fast-moving species, lives on trees. Right. Easy to identify these
They are long and slender.
because they dwell on trees, and then they have these bronze color line running,
The vertebral column.
right, bronze-backed tree.
People here,
That this
animal is very dangerous. It will kind
jump on you from treetops, it will bite you on the head, it will kill you instantly. They also say that it will follow the dead person to the graveyard
confirm if he is really
or not. Right, such myths,
exist when it comes to these snakes.
that is not true at all. These snakes do not have any venom whatsoever. But yeah, there's one thing that these animals do.
Remember the trinket snake that I spoke?
It kind of raises its body as a warning mechanism. A cobra can probably,
Hood as a warning mechanism.
a viper can probably hiss very loud. These animals, whenever they are facing a threat, and specifically human beings, they actually jump on the threat. All right, they startle the animal and then they kind of make a dash for their life. So I'm pretty positive that this is the reason why they've created such stories.
These snakes jump on human beings. Jumping is just a strategy
These animals employ to escape
to startle their threat and escape.
a very fast moving snake. Dendrolaphis tristis. Other species
That is found
has been reported in our region is the Indian smooth snake. Very little is known about the natural
these animals, but they are
in and around water bodies. So we assume that they feed on frogs and their like. And buff-striped keel,
these animals.
as the name suggests, they have stripes on their body. Stripes which are very prominent until the mid-body, post which you will not find them. And then they've got these two longitudinal stripes, right, which runs all the way to the tail. Right, that's the buff-striped keelback. That's how you identify these animals. These are
Special in a way where
whenever there's any damaged ecosystem, all right, if a particular place is damaged beyond repair, these animals are the first to disappear. All right, so you kind of can use these animals as ecological indicators. So in Hyderabad, it's a rarity now. 10-15 years ago, you might find them commonly,
but then now not a
individual might kind of be sighted
around Hyderabad. Again,
in areas where these occur. They are very common. All right, these animals are very common. They estivate,
to avoid harsh summer,
by staying underneath the earth inside the cracks and crevices, and they come out during the rainy season. Right, when they come out in rainy season, they come out in
or one might
see a lot of these animals during the rains. They call it
Koila in Telugu.
harmless species,
But yeah,
frogs, and they are active during the daytime. Another species which is rare is the olive keelback. These animals have keeled scales, right? Rough scales
and that's why they're commonly.
as keelbacks
You have olive keelback, which is from
in our region. And another keelback that
is the green. Now notice
positive, the image is clear here. Notice these dorsal scales here. You might kind of find some projection right on the scale, all right? In between the scale, there is a projection, and that projection is called keel. These keeled scales kind of give a very rough appearance to these animals. It's probably an adaptation, evolutionary adaptation, so that these animals kind of break the light that
falls on them, or rather,
scales kind of breaks the light or scatters the light, and these animals are very dull to look at. All right, these images are glossy, but usually keelback or other animals that have keeled scales, they lack luster. They're not shiny. They're not glossy. It's an adaptation so that they can blend in with their environment. Green keelback. This animal is greenish in color. It's a terrestrial species active during the daytime. People sometimes get confused between cobras and green keelbacks
because green keelbacks kind of
their neck region and try to show a hood as a warning, just like the cobras. But remember this, only true cobras have a proper hood. These animals do not have any such projection. Another species that is commonly found is the checkered keelback. These animals have a black
chessboard-like pattern on their
black and white alternate dots.
That's why they call it the checkered
back. A very common species found
in this region. Right, I'll just
go through other species that we find in our region because of lack of time rather quickly. This is the green vine snake. It is long and slender.
Vine creeper, like any vine.
That's why they call it the vine snake. They also
say that the snake has got this long
pointy nose with which it will poke human beings in their eyes, right? And in certain villages they say that it will enter the ear, it will enter from one ear and come out of the other ear. All of these are myths that people believe in. That is not true. It's just folklore. No snake would intentionally try hitting you or plucking your eyes.
right, a Hitler Nasta.
Beautiful species, mildly venomous. There are known instances of complications when it comes to snake bites from these. Now, these animals do not have proper venom gland, but they have another organ called the Davanois gland, which secretes enzymes which are toxic.
Prey, right?
Sometimes when human beings get bitten by
Animals, they have complications edema, where there's
a
like
lot of fluid accumulation, pain in the
bite side, and sometimes you have damage at the bite side.
right. Otherwise, usually these animals are harmless. They rarely bite, but yeah, if bitten, it is better that
Approach a doctor.
to get yourself examined. But yeah, no deaths have been ever reported from these animals. You
Need not worry about this particular species. Mine snake feeds on lizards.
sometimes frogs and rodents also. Right. Few other species that we commonly find in our region. This is a common sand boa. These animals have black patches on their body which are irregular in nature. They are fossorial species. They stay underneath the ground. They try
Themselves underneath the ground.
and ambush their prey. They usually feed on rodents. Sometimes they also end up eating other snakes. So this is like kind of a beneficial snake where they can keep population of snakes under control.
Common sand boa.
Right. Red sand boa. This is another species that I'm pretty positive most of you must have heard about it. They call it the two-headed snake.
That is not true. This
That you're looking at is a very blunt,
tail which resembles the head.
right? Sometimes when this animal is attacked by a predator, it will try to save the head underneath the coils, and it will wave the tail, trying to distract the predator. Right? The real head is safe underneath the coil, but the false head is kind of trying to distract the predator.
This, if you probably notice from a distance,
You might assume, or rather, you might think that the snake has got two heads. One head it is using to escape, another head it is using to fight off the predator. But that's not true. No snakes would have two heads on either sides. That is not possible. Right? Red sand boas are harmless, non-venomous species. They predominantly feed
rodents.
a common snake in our region, the rat snake. Remember the 25% frequency of encounter that we usually have are these rat snakes. Rat snakes are long-growing colubrids which are totally harmless. Remember this. They are also called the farmer's friend.
They control population of rodents.
Not just rodents, they also control population of other snakes, including the venomous snakes like cobras or vipers. Okay, very easy to identify rat snakes. They are glossy yellowish in color. Sometimes you also kind of find them in shades of green, gray, or black.
And those that are light colored, like
No,
from the mid body region till
tail tip, you will have these black lines on the body, right? And right near the head region, underneath the eye, you will have these black stripes, okay? On the labial scales, supralabial scales.
and intralabial scales, you will have black stripes.
The third,
You look for is hood.
these animals grow up to 5-6 feet in length, just like a cobra, but they do not have a hood like a cobra. Right? These are certain guides that you probably could use in the field to distinguish a cobra from
Or rather a rat snake.
cobra. Okay. Another species that is found
And around rock crop.
are these Indian rock pythons. These are harmless snakes. They grow up to 20-25 feet in length, but on an average, you might kind of come across individuals that grow up to 10 feet in length. These are nocturnal animals. They have
predominantly mammalian type. Sometimes they also end up eating.
pythons are easy to identify. They have a reddish tinged head, and then they've got these large dark blotches throughout the body. These animals have a shiny, lustrous skin, unlike the common sand boa, and they grow pretty long. Okay, people say that pythons kind of can open their mouths and suck human beings or suck livestock just like a vacuum cleaner. All of that is just a myth. That is not true. These animals will have to ambush, capture, constrict, kill, and then eat
prey. And human beings are their choice of diet.
Okay. Indian rock python, which
During the 19th
and all were like killed rampantly for their skin.
now venomous snakes, there are 7 species
Found in our region. One is the slender coral snake. This is an Elapidae. This belongs to the family Elapidae. These have strong neurotoxic venom.
and these are such,
Animals that there are hardly
in fact there are no known
of human bites by these animals. They grow up to They grow up to half a feet in length, and then the head is so small that it is unlikely that a human being can ever get bitten by them. But that said, these are highly venomous species. Slender coral snake. Remember, there was a black-headed snake that I spoke about earlier. That one looks, the Dummerils black-headed, looks like a slender coral snake, but they don't have any vertebral dots on the body. Right, slender coral snake. Another thing that you look for
is the
coloration of the scales, coloration of the subcaudal scales, or coloration of the scales in the tail region. Right
near the vent, right near the area
they defecate, right near the anal opening, they have these black band on in and around scales on the dorsal side, and then right near the tip again they have a black patch. All right, these black patches are absent on a Dummeril's black-headed snake. Right, another Elapidae that we should
is the common.
Now these are commonly found in and around Hyderabad, and they're common across
the state of Telangana. Blacks
with white
bands, and these white bands
pairs has to be a crate. You have to be careful of this particular species. Right. Another thing that you can also examine are these vertebral scales, which are hexagonal in nature. They are
larger than the adjacent scale. They are 6-sided in nature. Okay. Black snakes with white lines on the body, thin white lines on the body. Just be careful. Has to be common crate. Right. It's a highly venomous species. A lot of people kind of get bitten by these animals
during their sleep. When these animals actively
seek human warmth,
they kind of can come underneath the cots, come underneath the mattress. They can kind of
in contact with the sleeping human
or a sleeping animal
to absorb heat, right?
And if the animal or the human being kind of turns around and falls over onto the snake, then they turn and bite. A highly venomous species that is found here. Another animal that we find in our state is the banded crate. Right, banded crate have been reported from Bhopal
district.
You have reports of road kills from the state of from
Wildlife Sanctuary.
And other than that, you don't have any other records of banded crates in the state of Telangana. Okay, these are again a highly venomous species. All right, and they have got golden bands on their body. Okay, this particular genus
Bangaris, it's actually a
derivative of a Telugu word Bangaram, and Bangaram, this particular animal is called Bangara Gajula Pamu or Bangaram Pamu because of the golden hue. All right, Bangaris fasciatus, a highly venomous snake found in Telangana. Another species that is common is the spectacled cobra. The animals are generalist. They kind of can eat anything that they can come across. They feed on birds, lizards,
frogs, rodents,
snakes, snake eggs, I'm sorry, bird eggs, and anything that is sizable, these animals can feed. And that is why I feel that these animals are well equipped to survive in human dominated landscapes. Across India, wherever you look at, especially in
certain cities, populations of
snakes might dwindle down
but these animals thrive.
in and around human habitations, right? A highly venomous snake. In India, we've got 4 species of them, but South India, we've got the spectacled cobra.
The U-shaped mark.
Behind the hood, that is the reason why we call it the spectacled cobra. North India, you come across a monocled cobra with a single circle, and then a Central Asian cobra,
Which is found
in the northwest frontier. You find them across Pakistan and beyond. And then you also have another species called the Andaman Cobra. These are the 4 species that are found here. And in Telangana, you find spectacled cobra. A very common snake, a highly venomous snake, and bites from cobras are quite common. Another species that we find
in Telangana is the soft-scaled viper.
Small growing snake. Bites are dangerous, and this is not like a long growing snake. They grow up to 1 feet in length, but
They have highly venomous. It is
a common occurrence in certain pockets of our state. In Hyderabad, you don't come across soft-scaled vipers. Russell's viper, a highly
snake from the head
tail region. You've got these regular
patches on their body.
one way of identifying Russell's vipers. They grow up to 5-6 feet in length, but an animal that you should be careful of.
These are usually active during the
dusk, and sometimes during the mating season, you might kind of come across them during the dawn as well. Another viper that we find here is the bamboo pit viper. You find them near Etunagaram Wildlife Sanctuary, Amrabad Tiger Reserve, and Kaval Tiger Reserve also. Right, venomous snake, not lethal to human beings.
can cause
Complications, and you might have to reach out to a hospital. Trimeresurus graminor. I'll just quickly run through the other slides that I have.
What threats do
In general face,
nothing like any wild
major threat is habitat loss and habitat degradation, right? Then there is always this problem of human-wildlife conflict, and that is one major reason why we always have snakes entering houses, and
kind of not reciprocate
to their presence and things like that. And sometimes these cold-blooded animals are threatened, or rather their existence is threatened because of the environmental factors.
Now, most of the species that
Found in tropical region, they have an optimum temperature, working body temperature of 25 or 24 to 38 degrees Celsius. All right. Beyond that, these animals will not survive. With increasing global
warming and
daytime temperatures, these animals do not stand a chance.
thing that these
Do is they lay eggs. Most species, when they lay eggs, the gender of the offspring is determined by the temperature as well, right?
temperature depend
Sex determination, and that happens because of the clutch temperature as well, right? So these animals, cold-blooded animals, snakes, reptiles in general, environment is a major factor, and their existence is challenged because of increasing
temperatures.
And then there's always this competition between species, between invasive species and other predators. And then you also have chances of diseases like the respiratory disease, which kind of spreads very frequently in snakes.
And forest fires.
Floods are always a threat. Remember this, whenever there's a forest fire, a bird can sense the source of heat and
Fly off away from the source.
the fire. Mammals can kind of will get out in time. No, that is not the case always, but yeah, they have a chance of getting away. Snakes and reptiles, the way they deal with increasing temperatures are, or rather they bury themselves
Underneath the ground, they enter
or rodent holes whenever there is
harsh temperatures.
During such situations, during forest fires and all, these animals
Get burnt, they kill
underneath the ground itself because of high temperatures. So forest fires
or floods are extremely detrimental
for these animals. Human wildlife conflict, as we all know, human population is ever growing and wildlife territories are constantly dwindling down, and that's why there is always this competition for resources and space. And same happens with respect to snakes as well. Whenever there's a habitat loss, these animals lose their territories, they lose
feeding grounds and stuff, and then they end up
coming very close to human beings, human habitations. Look at
a particular example.
Linear road, let's say, that is kind of crisscrossing across a protected area. Notice that there's a vehicle approaching on the road, and if it's a reptile, look at all the threats that these animals can face. One, they can get killed when they're trying to cross the road. Another thing that you'll have to look at is that there is a fragmentation in the canopy. This could lead to higher temperatures, and this could kind of be detrimental to animal populations, reptile population. And then these vehicles always create a lot of pollution. Soil pollution predominantly. Sometimes there is this noise pollution as well.
That's also a major threat. And then
along the roadsides, you have invasive species of plants growing which are not suitable for the native species of reptiles that we have. Right, and pollution is also a major concern that we face. Let's go through these. I'm pretty positive these we all are aware of. We'll rapidly end this one by talking about snake bites.
snake bites happen, and people
lose their lives. People, have long-term problems when it comes to snake bites, and that's why people don't respond positively to snakes. Right, people have lost their limbs due to snake bites, and that's why snakes are always
treated with anger and anguish.
Right. There are, when it comes to snakes, only certain species of snakes are highly venomous. Rest of them are harmless. We'll just talk about the 4 species that I spoke about. The common krait. When it is common krait, these animals have strong neurotoxic venom. So they don't produce or create any local signs. You don't have swelling, you don't have redness and all, but you have
Neurological symptoms.
Sometimes you will have drooping eyelids, you will have neuro paralysis and stuff like that. That happens when it comes to kraits, right? And then when it comes to cobra, you might have discoloration at the bite site, right? Ecchymosis at the bite site because of destruction of healthy tissues. Sometimes there is also swelling at the bite area, and people die because of respiratory failure. That's cobra. These are just the symptoms. I'm just running through them so that you are aware of these. And if you ever come across anyone who needs help, you
can guide them to the right place.
Remember this, any snake bite can be treated with polyvalent antivenom. Encourage people to visit hospitals in case of snake bites. Let them not go to a faith healer. Invariably, they cannot treat snake bites. All right. When it comes to vipers, you will find local edema. You will find a lot of swelling and accumulation of fluid. You will also have these distinct fang marks that will be there. And from the fangs, from the puncture,
you will also have active bleeding.
These are the other things that kind of tell you that it's a viper bite. Remember this, vipers have hemotoxic venom. So when
you get bitten by an animal which has got
hemotoxic venom, all the clotting factors are used up and
the blood no longer clots. When you do this WBCT test,
right, when you kind of take a little bit of blood, keep it in a beaker for a period of 20 minutes, normal blood should clot. But when it comes to chemotoxic bites, the blood will stay unclotted. All right, the blood will not clot. All right, that's one way of determining it's a viper bite. Right, same goes with the saw scale viper as well. You will have local edema, discoloration, and stuff like that. When it comes to snake bites, reassure the victim and take them to the hospital without much stress. All right, and once you are there at the hospital, tell the doctors about the symptoms. And for snake bites, polyvalent antivenom is the only cure. I know this is not relevant to our presentation, but I thought that this is important that we talk about the snake bite aspect as well. So if you ever come across any snake bite victims, or if you yourself
In such a situation,
should be aware of the best way to handle snake bites. Yeah, apart from snake bite mitigation studies that we do, we also conduct awareness programs. As I said, these are the conservation efforts that we try doing in the state of Telangana. So, should you have any questions, you could ask.
Uh, this session is open for question and answers.
Yeah. Hello.
None?
Yes, one by
Good
one.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening. Can I ask? I'm Hussein.
Yeah, Sheikh Hussain, please ask the question.
Yeah, that was wonderful presentation as usual. Good, Avinash. I wanted to ask: is there any venom center coming up in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh? Because the snake bites, whichever are happening, we are having anti-venom present or available only in the big cities. Whenever I'm going and whenever we are taking awareness classes or anything, a lot of people in the villages, they are saying that they are not having, and the hospitals are also not having that poly anti-venom. So what could be the solution you say for this? Hello.
Yeah, just give him some time. I believe he's trying to switch off his
Okay, sir. Okay.
presentation. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he got it or not, so I was asking.
No,
That's
no, no. I
fine.
see that he's active, so
Okay, sir.
I'm
Okay.
just seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, when Avinash joins in, if I may kind of, clarify the doubt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the important things that we have to, pay attention towards non-availability of anti-venom in remote areas, or maybe in the townships also, in the third tier township areas, is the attitude that the hospitals have. I would put it in that way. In fact, I have seen and interacted with many doctors who do not want to take the risk of, saying that they have anti-venom, and by law, all the government dispensaries needs to have the anti-venom with them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, but sometimes even besides having the anti-venom with that, the doctors do not have the confidence of, treating the patients or the victims. So that is something which is a kind of, problematic. So I don't know, but all this kind of, feedback and all these things we have collected when about a decade back, we have done surveys on snake bites in Telangana region of Andhra Pradesh at that time. And we found out that, although they might be having access, they might be having, storage of antivenom with them. Many a times doctors do not kind of, take the risk, because the patient is already kind of, sometimes they feel that it is risky. The patient is already in the fag end and all such kind of things. That one thing aside, second thing is the private hospitals and private clinics, they also do not want to keep these things. So yeah, so it's like, there's some kind of attitudinal problem, I would say, and that is where lot of awareness activities needs to be brought in by NGOs, people who are interested in all such kind of activities, and as well as, administration also. The district administration needs to ensure that, the anti-venom is available, and the anti-venom is also kind of, the doctors are also keen in treatment, snake bite treatment. Avinash is back, I believe.
Yeah.
Avinash?
Sorry, I had
Yeah.
a
Avinash,
audio issue.
you have heard the question. Can you just
No,
yeah.
I was not there when the question was asked.
Okay, Hussein, can you just
Yes,
very
sir.
quickly repeat the question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Avinash, as usual, your presentation was wonderful. I was appreciating that. And I wanted to
thank you.
tell you and know one thing, that the poly antivenom or antivenom is present only at the bigger cities. and most of the cases which are happening, it's happening on the forest fringes and villages which are near to forest and low level villages. You might be understanding that where the availability of venom, polyanti venom is not available. For this, what we have to do and what can be done, is there any venom unit, polyanti venom unit coming up in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh by forest departments, or anything has been planned up? That I wanted to know.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the
question here. I concur with Dr. Srinivaslu, where certain in certain scenarios, the local hospitals, the PHCs, they avoid handling complications and situations where there is respiratory failure and stuff like that. They kind of refer such cases to district hospitals or larger private hospitals. So there is a delay. But one we will have to realize this, that every single district hospital has been equipped with anti-venoms.
they don't have
Professionally trained staff, and in certain scenarios,
people end up reaching very late.
all right. And with respect to having anti-venom unit production, it is very much required, not just here in Telangana, but across India, because recent studies on venom variation kind of is revealing that
Snakes and their venom
position is varying greatly because of the geographical variation that is present. Now, for example, snakes, or let's say cobra, spectacled cobra venom in North India is quite different from what we kind of have in South India. So
Yes,
when we
yes,
are using anti-venom, we are exclusively using anti-venom from the snake
milk from
Tamil Nadu, the Irula Cooperative Society.
yeah.
and that might
Be effective for species that are found elsewhere. So not just here in Telangana, every single state should have specific anti-venom production units, and LACONs might kind of be looking into such a project. Yeah, if it does, then it'll be very beneficial for our state.
Yeah. So for the first answer, which Dr. Srinivasulu and yeah, you were also clarifying, sir has done a decade ago the survey, which where the doctors were not ready and they're pessimistic because of coming complications to the patient. They are not taking up cases or not keeping the poly antivenom. That was the case previously, but I surveyed in Khammam district and East Godavari and other districts of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, but they are saying that the government is not ready and the forest department is also not informing them what the cases are happening, and even the awareness is not there. The first thing is awareness is not there. For all these things, people should be aware, and the forest department also should be aware that whenever any snake bite or any snake anything happens, first of all they have to go to the PHC or to the doctor. They are not approaching. These people are doctors are claiming that. So yeah, the second point, definitely I say that each and every state should have their own unit of poly antivenom, and we should soon have positive results of that. Thank you for answering.
Thanks a lot, Sheikh. Is there anybody else who wants to ask the question? While you are mulling about asking the question, there is one question that was punched in the chat box by Raj Oza. And he wants to know, what do you think is the cause for the loss of the habitat is one of the major reasons of increasing encounters of snakes in human population, or is it the availability of food in the human habitation that is attracting the snakes?
okay. I would
Attribute the increase in snake populations in human-dominated areas due to the availability of food.
there are species that are
Exclusive forest dwellers, and these
animals kind of do not cope.
the changes that are brought in by human beings. So invariably, these animals perish. They either move to better, feasible, conducive landscapes, or they simply do not find mates, and then they end up, succumbing. They kind of get wiped out. On the other hand, certain individuals, certain species which can thrive in
Human dominated landscape.
these animals are able to survive and thrive in human dominated landscape due to the availability of food. I hope that answers your question.
Raj, I hope, Raj, you have got your answer. Yeah, you have to just remember that, the sensitivity of these species determines. And as our friend Avinash was mentioning, species that are very forest dwellers or sensitive to human disturbance, they would lose their grounds in the human dominated habitats. And the species that are adapted to change in the habitats would survive in the human dominated habitats. At the same time, as he has mentioned, that the availability of food also increases in the human dominated habitats, uh, what do you say, giving advantage to such species that can survive to increase and be seen quite often. The next question that is coming up is from Vinita Sharma. Ms. Vinita Sharma is asking, is there any evidence that snakes transmit disease to humans besides snake bites?
Yes, there are instances of diseases, various zoonotic diseases that are transferred from snakes to human beings.
Now, in
Scenario, it might be very difficult for us to such cases where
there's a transmission
from snakes to human beings, because these animals do not share the same space, all right? Same space. When I say same space, they don't stay inside. They don't stay within our
dwelling space, right? So such
this might be less, but when it comes to pet breeders, not just in the US, but across the world, there are numerous diseases that get transmitted from snakes to human beings. In fact, there is this case of reptilian tuberculosis, which is considered
lethal to human beings as well.
animals that are diagnosed with reptilian tuberculosis, they should be culled immediately. Otherwise, they can infect human beings, and the consequences can be lethal.
No, sir. My question is, when we are saying, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Go on.
Yeah, myself, Dr. Vinita Sharma. I'm assistant professor in Department of Zoology, Central University of Jammu, and we are seeing that every next day we are facing. There is a snake rescue thing in our university campus only. Sometimes the snakes, all the venomous snakes, black crate, this one common crate, viper, Russell viper, and this cobra, all are found in our university campus in well number. And me myself, when rescued many of the organisms and the same and through in this one rescued and released in the same field. But my question is, when we are saying co-evolution, or we can say that co-adaptation, we have to live with those organisms in the same premises. Similarly, as the COVID is going on, there is an assumption that this disease is transmitted through a sort of mixing of the gene or maybe from the animal. So there may be chances, because we are seeing many of the organisms having the pathogens over it. Many times we rescued the snakes with having a ticks and mites over them. So ticks and mice against having the Lyme disease and these things. This way I am saying that what are the chances that how this one cycle, we are saying the food chain. Similarly, I am defining a term that this is a sort of disease chain. Many of the diseases are in the chain and cascade manner are through transmitting from one organism to other. That's why I have a specific question towards this one, snakes one.
I get it. Thank you for the question. Like I said, as long as we're not sharing the same living space, if we don't have snakes as pets indoors, we are fine. Not just the Lyme disease from ticks,
more common option would be
from their defecation, from their infected feces.
Yeah,
Right,
the space where these organisms are found, that is infected. What
Correct.
happens when other person is going to having a hand touch over it? What are the chances or the possibility of this thing can be transmitted from one to other? This is my question is there, because I didn't found any of the research article found over this small issue.
Okay.
there are lots of
Scenarios of human transmission. If you can share your email address,
I can probably and share all the research material
available. Now that
we need not worry
the disease do not transmitted from snakes in the wilderness houses. because these animals can come close to human beings.
Thing. Second thing, wild animals, especially animals that are in, that they are
That are able to survive by themselves. These are
rarely have
such infestations. And reptiles are known to have
very more
infectious diseases.
Sir, my question, don't we think about it and start a research work over it? Because me and my husband is especially working in wildlife and diagnosing diseases, especially malaria in all the wild animals. Apart from the avian malaria, all organisms. So it is very much necessary because there is no baseline data is available for such type of studies. How we can deny? Because for denying anything, we must have proof for that. Then only we can say, yeah, this is not happen or this is not possible.
Certainly, as you point out, certainly not much has been done.
Indian scenario, and again, there is a dearth of baseline studies, not just for this, various projects. And yeah, if you're interested, we'll be able to support, or rather we'll be able to collaborate
Yeah, sir. Sure, sir.
more about this.
Sure, sir. Sure. I am ready, sir.
Nice talking to you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Thank you, Dr. Vinita. Yeah, that was indeed a good kind of angle that you have brought in. And as you have rightly pointed out, and many of the zoology students and PhD scholars are also participating in this particular lecture series. They would also get kind of, inspired,
idea, a sort of
yeah,
idea.
inspired by this kind of idea. And yes, as Mr. Avinash has mentioned, there's a dearth of studies, and we welcome that, you can take up some study to just find out what exactly is the load, parasitic load, and the possibility.
Parasitemia and parasitemic load is essential to identify. Sir.
Yeah, that is what. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, sir.
And yeah, I have Avinash. I have very couple of quick questions I'll take because it's almost time now. What Win Reddy Gudipalli is asking, is V and Reddy Gudipalli is asking, what is the first aid when a venomous snake bite? For a venomous snake bite, first aid. Very quickly, can you just mention?
Certainly. When it comes to snake bites, you really don't have to do a lot of activities. Ensure that you're not moving a lot. Let there not be much movement. In case of a snake bite, call a vehicle or an ambulance and try to reach the nearest hospital which has anti-venom. And that's about it. Remember these letters, acronym RIGHT. R stands for reassure.
I stands for immobilize. G
Stands for get to the hospital. No tantrics, no babas. Just get to the hospital. And T stands for
tell the doctor about the symptoms
you have. Because in India, doctors usually treat you based on the symptoms that are present.
Yeah, thank you, Avinash. This might be the last question. Srinivas Neglur is asking, how can we identify snakes in field? How can we do the sex identification of snakes in field?
That's a good.
How do you tell male snake apart from female snake?
That's a good question.
I've included that in the presentation. Most of the species of snakes do not display sexual dichromatism, as in both males and females are usually same colored. In certain species, males might have broader heads and females
might have narrower heads, but
certain way of
identifying
if a particular specimen is a male or a female is by observing their organs, sexual organs. Male snakes have hemipenis, and you might kind of use a probe, or you can probably apply sufficient pressure,
pop or
the hemipenis out of
cloacal opening.
If it is a female, you might not have such a projection coming out, but for males, you will be able to appreciate or notice presence of hemipenis. Another thing that we also follow is on a general note, males have longer tail, females have shorter tail. Okay. And then base of a tail for a male will be much broader than a female. These are the ways that you can kind of differentiate between a male and a female snake.
I would hasten to add over here is that unless and until you are a trained snake rescuer or a biologist who is working on snake for your research, PhD program or something like that, please do not handle the snakes. Uh, it is good that you have wonderful idea about how to identify venomous and non-venomous snakes. Sometimes the so-called non-venomous snakes also bite viciously and can give you some kind of bacterial infection, and all those things, secondary infection might set in. So please do not take risk unless and until you are really trained or you are training yourself to become a scholar of snake studies in future. Take the help from the trained snake rescuers or trained people who are working on snakes before you handle any snake. It is good for you as well as for the snake. In both ways, I'm speaking. So that's great. I think that's the time that we have for today. And before you start leaving, I would just like to say that I have shared the feedback form in the chat box. Those of you who are still with us, kindly look at the chat box and you can see the feedback form. You please fill up the feedback form. These feedback forms are meant to take the feedback, your opinion, as well as they would be going into recording your attendance for all the lectures that you are attending. So please do that. So before I invite Dr. Harpreet Kaur to propose the formal vote of thanks to today's speaker, I would like to like to thank from my on my personal behalf Mr. Avinash. Thank you very much, Avinash. Dr. Harpreet, please propose the vote of thanks.
My pleasure.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. On the behalf of Center for Biodiversity and Conservation Studies, I thank Mr. Avinash for this very comprehensive and informative talk. It was a great interaction that we had, and I thank Avinash for being here today on this platform and sharing his wonderful experience on how to identify snakes. And I hope that. Everyone who has joined in, they might have picked up a few picked up points on how to identify snakes, and also on what we can do to mitigate human snake conflict. Once again, I thank you. I thank Mr. Avinash for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Harpreet. Thank you, Dr.
It was nice.
Interact.
Thanks a lot, Avinash.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, all the participants. Thanks for your participation. We'll be meeting you tomorrow. We'll start the meet exactly at 2:15. 2:15 onwards, you can start joining, and we would be inviting our tomorrow's guest, Ms. Farida Tampal, exactly at 2:30 onwards. Thank you very much once again.